Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. I'm joined today by Adam and by Jay for the preview of another semi-final for Manchester United this season as Jay tucks into a lovely Diet Coke. We've got a semi, lads. Jay, what are your thoughts?
Another one?
It's been a while.
Not that long.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was thinking of something else. Right. Yeah, listen, I mean, yeah, we've got another semi-final and 3 semi-finals. Would be,
Since he said lady friend.
Yeah, that's it. Semis are a distant memory to me now. But yeah, listen, getting to 3 semi-finals, it's all well and good if you're someone like Watford or whatever, but Manchester United, you expect a little bit better. We need to be getting into finals. We need to be winning trophies. And I think, this is as tough a challenge as you can get. We know what Sevilla are about. I know we're going to get to the opposition a little bit later. But they're a very, very good team, and we look goosed. So it's going to be tough. And, you're not going to look back and go, oh, that was great, the season we got into 3 semi-finals. Years from now, you look back and say, the season we won the Europa was good. And that's what we should be doing. Like I said, winning trophies. And obviously, we need to get there. We need to do that. And I think it'd be good for Ollie as well in his first full season to get that bit of silverware, because even though we got top 3, people are already dismissing it. People are already going, oh, well, what are we, Arsenal now? When's the parade? Which obviously getting into the Champions League was a great achievement, but you want silverware. He'll want silverware. The fans want silverware, and that team of players will want silverware. And we've got the 11 to do it. We've got the squad. Well, not the squad, but the team to do it. It just goes back to what I said earlier. They just look a bit knackered.
Would you agree with that, Adam? Would you say that anything less than winning the Europa League is sort of a failure in terms of this competition?
Wow. When you look at the opposition we could come up against, Sevilla, Inter, you could, I think, 3 times out of 10 we lose against Sevilla. It's probably a little bit more even against Inter Milan. So I think, they are difficult games that you could possibly have in the running, but I would look at it like, yeah, it is a failure to just win 2 games. You get into, you win the competition. And I think the tiredness thing, I think it was a factor towards the back end of the domestic campaign. But I don't think that can be an excuse anymore. I think maybe match sharpness and things like that for certain players, yes. But that kind of, we'll talk about our 11s later. We expect it to be a strong 11. They're going to be, they should be ready to go. And when you're looking at why you would want to win the Europa League, this isn't like it's the same team that won it in Stockholm. A lot has changed within this team. Martial was on the bench in Stockholm. He's now going to be possibly starting if we get to a final. So you look at that and you think there's different things at stake for these players. Bruno Fernandes to win a trophy within his first 6 months and be a big part of that. Top goal scorer in the Europa League, if he could, just finish it off with a few more goals. That'd be massive for him. Harry Maguire, like winning a European trophy for the club. How many European trophies have we won in our lifetime? 3 European Cups, a Europa League, Cup Winners' Cup. Like, there's not, loads of captains that have lifted European trophies for us. So I think there's all these kind of stories there, which should mean that Manchester United should really be up for this. And look at it as if we've had a week's rest. It looks like they've been having fun. They've kind of built like a little summer training camp there. And it looks like the team are all pushing each other. So if we went into this and underperformed, I'd be massively disappointed. I got it against Chelsea in that semi-final. I got it against City. Like, City can batter you on any given day. Do you know what I mean? And we recovered. We almost recovered it in the second leg, but I couldn't forgive us really going out with a whimper in this game because there is a lot at stake, even though it is the Europa League and we're already in the Champions League. I couldn't be asked with the last game, but I feel completely opposite to this one. We have to win it.
Adam mentioned there, obviously, Jay, about Harry Maguire, and he's the one I wanted to talk about a little bit more actually in the preview. There was a stat that came out this week. He's played the most minutes of any professional footballer in the world pretty much this season. And obviously we've talked before about his availability being almost, you look at speed and tackling ability and heading ability. I think availability is another stat and another quality that a footballer should be judged by. Do you think the fact that he's played so many minutes and, like Adam said, has a chance to pick up a European trophy, would that be a successful season for Harry Maguire? He's had a bit of stick, especially toward the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, like Micah said, there's not many captains for Manchester United that have lifted European trophies. You look at some clubs, a European trophy is rare. City have got one in their existence. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not something you can just take for granted. I know it's not the Champions League, so it's not the one we want. But lifting the Europa in your first season as captain would be a massive achievement. I mean, listen, playing lots of games in a season is good, and it's what we expect, it's what you do. But it's the quality of those games that matters. And I think if he can finish the season and say, I was part of a defence and I led a defence, or was captain of a team that got to third in the Premier League and won the Europa League and had quite a decent record in terms of, the amount of goals we conceded, then people will say, yeah, that is a success. But it's one we have to build on, because I think Harry Maguire is sort of still, it sounds crazy to say this because he's been in the Premier League quite a while now, and he's an established England international, and he's been captain for a few months, even with the lockdown. But it still feels to me a little bit like he's finding his feet. And I think this would be a good sort of block for him to build on and go into next season with that sort of, maybe that little bit of swagger that he needs to be a United captain. Like, listen, I'm here now, I'm established, I've done it, I've won silverware, got us into the Champions League. We're part of a good defence. Let's build on it. Let's sort of kick on a bit and go for that title challenge. I don't think we're going to win a title, but getting into that conversation should be the next step for this team. So yeah, it would. In answer to your question, you can't fault him for the amount of games he's played. You can't really fault him overall for the defensive record. I think there's one or two games where he's sort of not performed at the levels we want. But all in all, I think I've said this many times. If you were to go back and say to the summer when we signed him, should we sign Harry Maguire? Yes, he's been a good signing. I don't think anyone would say, we shouldn't have bought him. But he just needs to build on it now. And I think this could be the first step in doing that.
Yeah, you say there about it seems like he's a little bit sort of still coming into his role a little bit, even though he's 26, 27. I think that is the case with centre-backs, especially, the centre-backs who don't, he's never had that sort of athleticism to get him out of trouble when he was a younger, he's had to sort of get his brain and get his positioning and get these things in order to get him out of trouble. And I think those things do take a little bit longer to progress, don't they? But, heading-wise and aerially and all that has been obviously fantastic this season. Moving on to someone else who's been fantastic this season, Adam. Bruno Fernandes, who, again, we won't name any names, we're not going to get into any of that sort of stuff, but there has been a little bit of not a backlash necessarily, but a few people, certainly on Twitter and a certain section of the United audience, may be calling into question his recent performances again.
We're not going to talk about this, are we?
Well, I just want to get your opinion on it.
No, let's not indulge those ridiculous comments.
So it is ridiculous to you, then?
Let's not indulge it. I want to talk about Harry Maguire because I think that's more of a topic that deserves to be discussed. Dickheads on Twitter saying Bruno Fernandes and Penandes and all this shit. I'm not going to indulge that stuff because it's just absolute idiot. Like, it's absolute idiots. Like, people would have been ridiculed. People were ridiculing Ronaldo and all that when he was at the top of his game. And so, and I'm not comparing Bruno Fernandes to Cristiano Ronaldo because there's levels to this, but I'm not going to indulge that. As for Harry Maguire, I think, to touch on a point, I think he has improved Manchester United's defence. I know I've been one of those people that have been critical of him at times, but I think that's because there have been times when our defence as a unit has looked shaky. Now, I think that's also down to when we haven't got Matic in front of them. We haven't got a very good option in terms of that defensive midfield role. I also think we have chopped and changed an awful lot, despite Maguire and Lindelof being there a lot. The fullbacks and all that. We've had David De Gea, who's not been quite as confident self. And you're looking at Maguire, it's his first season at the club. He's never played for a club like Manchester United. And I think before he got the armband, I don't think he was great. If you remember that, it was a period of time when people were saying, Shiyunku's better than Maguire and all this kind of stuff because of how well Leicester were doing. And I think once he got the armband, he stepped up another level. And I think he did look really good throughout the middle part of the season. After the break, that could be down to fatigue, I don't know, a lack of sharpness, whatever. He's had times when he hasn't looked good, and I think Lindelof's been better than him. The only thing I critiqued the giving him the armband thing was because he's not someone, he hasn't played like someone this season that you say he's guaranteed starting 11, but he clearly has always been available. And with him having the armband, and I have no doubt that he's a great captain off the pitch, he obviously is going to keep his position, but I just think he needs to push it on another level next campaign. And like Jay says, winning a trophy for the club in his first season could be a massive boost for him.
Yeah, it would be a massive boost, wouldn't it? And I want to talk as well, speaking of boost, someone who's obviously had a massive one this season, and we'll get your opinion on this in a minute, Adam. But first of all, Jay, Martial, who in recent weeks obviously has been excellent, but it's just, I feel like, when you sort of get a feeling around a player and it just feels as though the sort of the general public, and obviously Van Persie said what he said about him being world class and stuff. There just seems to be like just a turn on the feeling of Martial. He was always this sort of, he's a good finisher, he's a good dribbler, but he don't always put the hard yards in. He's not a centre forward. There just seems to be a bit of a change in the way he's being viewed and the way he's playing recently. Do you think he is the man sort of now to go, Solskjaer wanted Haaland last season, we all know that. Do you think maybe Martial's kind of saying, actually, I can do all of the jobs that you thought you wanted Haaland for?
I mean, listen, that that number 9 shirt, it's his, isn't it? It's. I mean, it'd be absolutely insane to try and replace him or take it off him the way he's playing. And we've seen this come in. I mean, I felt a little bit sorry for him because I think, like, when he first burst onto the scene, even his debut, that goal against Liverpool, everyone was like, "Oh, Martial," rah, rah, rah. And then when you can't maintain that level throughout, people then start saying, "Oh, you're not good enough," and all this nonsense. And I go back to it, and I don't want to make Josie the bogeyman, but it mattered because when we brought in Sanchez, dropped Martial, it affected him. The way he was managed under that period wasn't great. He didn't go to the World Cup where he would have got a winner's medal just for sitting on the bench with France, regardless. And I felt for him. But he's always been a top player, and he has. And listen, I've never bought into this idea of like he doesn't put a shift in or he doesn't want to be here. It's just because he doesn't grin all the time. I think that's a load of nonsense. And we've seen it. And the thing that's always annoyed me again has been this Martial versus Rashford thing. And we finally got rid of that by and large because they're both playing well. Martial through the middle, Rashford obviously on the left. And I think that spot is his. And I think anyone that comes in now as a striker into Manchester United is either going to come to play alongside Anthony Martial or play instead of him when he's not fit or when he wants a rest. I cannot see a sort of a way where we bring in a striker and drop Martial. I just don't think that happens. I don't think it should happen. And I don't think Ollie wants it to happen either. And I think when we were going for Haaland, there would have been maybe a system where Ollie played them both together because I think they could play together. If you brought Haaland, I know that's still on the table further down the line. I don't think he's going to finish his career at Dortmund. But for now, I mean, yeah, Anthony Martial is as sort of nailed onto that team as anyone else, if not more so. And I think you've seen it. And I felt this is why I always felt a little bit sorry for Ollie because when he was getting a lot of stick, and admittedly some of the results weren't good enough, but we missed Martial when he got injured early in the season. We missed him massively. And Paul Pogba as well. You missed arguably your most talented players. And he never really got the sort of credit he deserved from some people for that, Ollie, when we lost those players and he still sort of kept us in it a little bit. So, yeah, there's no way. I mean, the one thing you can't fault Ollie for is he's stuck with Martial. It made him his number 9 when a lot of people, even now, I still see it, we should never have got rid of Lukaku. Come on, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, behave. I know his record is 42 goals in 96 games, which on paper looks great. But, he scored 10 in his first 12 games and then didn't score for 9 games. It was that sort of thing with Lukaku, and his record against the top 6 wasn't good enough. So he's stuck with Martial. He's playing down the middle. He's absolutely shining like we know he can. He's only going to get better. It'd be career suicide for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to change that.
Do you think, Adam, then, it's nice that for the first time in Martial's career at United, Jay says that about him, where he's nailed on as the number 9. That's his role. He's not going to get replaced, even though it looked like he might have done as recently as the start of the season. Do you think that that's one of the things that sort of led to this change in form for Martial, just being sort of believed in and playing regularly in that position?
First off, I think people use the Erling Haaland thing to kind of suggest Ollie didn't fancy Martial as number 9, and I don't think that was the case at all. I think sometimes players become available that are so good that you need to be in there for them. There was a time where we didn't want to really get Wayne Rooney yet, and we wanted to wait, and we just had to go for him because we thought this is the time where we want to get him. So, look, Haaland's obviously a great player, and I think he could have come in and been a part of that front three potentially with Rashford and Martial and rotating. But it could have also been used as a ploy to actually squeeze a little bit extra out of Anthony Martial. Why are these rumours coming out about Erling Haaland? And let me try and prove a point again. Because around January there was a period where he had a little bit of a dip in form as well, and that was probably the only period in this campaign where he has. And then obviously he was previously injured. I think he has added a lot to his game. I think there's been a real focus, a real just tunnel vision on improving, scoring goals. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserves a lot of credit for his work with Martial, with Rashford, with Mason Greenwood, and even with keeping Paul Pogba at the club. You speak about Anthony Martial and people saying he didn't want to be here. There was many occasions where he could have forced to move out of the club. The manager didn't want him, and he wanted to stay here. He wants to be a part of this club, and he stuck it out. We won in the end. He signed his contract, and now he's here tearing it up. So I hope we keep pushing him because there's so much more to come from him. This isn't the end product. This is a glimpse into what the end product can look like. And I think since the break, we've even seen a much more improved Anthony Martial. So I think next season, if he plays the whole campaign, his 30 goals plus has to be the target.
Yeah, and it's amazing as well, isn't it, how people seem to sort of Twitter and I mean, again, I hate going back to Twitter because it's just so full of crap most of the time. But just the way you see fans' opinions tend to
follow us on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. We try not to do that. But like the way you see a lot of fans' opinion is through Twitter and social media, and the way that people like have to like. Anthony Martial is the player he is now. He will never change. He will never get any better. You have to rule him out, or you have to say he's the best striker in the world. And like you said there, he's 24 years old. He's going to get better, and he's got a lot better in the last 9 months. Like people always try to condense everything down to like this is who he is, and he'll never change. But yeah, I think he, like you said, he's improved a lot, and he will only get better.
There's a lot in feeling loved as well, you know, like feeling wanted, especially for a striker. It's so important that you feel like you have the faith of your manager. Like you maybe even saw it in Lukaku, you know, when he kind of felt like, Ali doesn't want me here. So what's the point? Is pushing me out to the right. You probably saw it in his performance. And I think there's a lot in a manager wanting you. And people say, oh, it's just a number. He took his number 9 shirt off him. So what? You play for Man United, you get paid. But that's a big thing as well. Can you imagine just, I don't know, Ronaldo was at the club as a young kid and he had his first year and he was that one trick pony that everyone used to call him. And then someone else come in and took his 7 shirt, he'd be like, the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like, and I think as a number 9, it's even more important that your number is more important. It signified massively that he wasn't seen as a striker anymore at United. And that probably affected him a bit as well.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about Lukaku, because remember when, like, I remember Ibrahimovic coming on for him when he under Jose, and Jose shifting Lukaku out wide. I just remember thinking, like, what does that say to you? You're an £80 million striker, or whatever he is, and you've just been told to go on the wing because he was coming on. And yeah, you know, it's got
your dad's coming on.
Yeah,
it's difficult because it's Zlatan, so it's like they must look up to him, but it's like still, this is my shirt, bro. You've worn other numbers before.
Let's have a little look at Sevilla then. Obviously, this is a preview for that game. Lucas Ocampos is their main man. He's got 17 goals this season. He's going to be the main goal threat to worry about. It's hard to say how good what to expect from Sevilla, isn't it? This team is one that did win the Europa League 3 years in a row, not so long ago, Jay. Do you think that sort of, like we've talked about, not many United captains have won European trophies? Well, you know, a fair amount of this team have won quite a few European trophies. Do you think that kind of their sort of heritage is a bit of a strong word, but their recent success in this tournament will give them somewhat of an advantage tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that. I mean, their record is ridiculously good in it over the last 10 years, whatever it's been, where they've always been thereabouts, and you know, you can't sort of dismiss that. But I think, I mean, if you look at it in terms of sort of recent history or this season, and how they played even in this sort of mini tournament that we're talking about, and they look up for it and they look well organised, and you know what you're going to get with them. And you saw them against Wolves as well, where Wolves sort of thought, okay, yeah, you know, this is going to go into extra time. You get that sucker punch, and this is what sort of I know what Maka was saying about, you know, these players shouldn't be tired and they've had a rest and things like that. But you saw it against the other week. I've forgotten who we fucking played then. Thank you. In the FC Copenhagen, where some of the players just did look dead on the feet. And I know we had lots of chances. We hit the bar, and that keeper had the game of his life. But he just looked a little bit drained, and that was the worry, because Sevilla didn't look like that to me. You know, I know obviously we went into extra time, but even before we went into extra time, it looks, you know, a lot of the players looks a little bit knackered, whereas they looked a little bit more energetic. So yes, the sort of recent history has come into it, but my main worry is which Manchester United turn up for this one. Do we get the Manchester United that is full of beans, that's full of energy, that's firing on all cylinders, or is it the one where the game seems to have caught up with us a little bit? You know, I'm not going to criticise Bruno Fernandes because he has been outstanding, but he's been a player that you can see the games I've caught up with him at times, but he's still turned up and he's still created chances and played, you know, a big part in winning us the games. But you can see it as caught with him. Marcus Rashford, who, you know, is arguably my favourite player, you can see at times the games have caught up with him, and he had a lengthy injury during lockdown as well, where, you know, a back injury, it's always one you've got to be careful on because it can be a career ender. So my main concern isn't a sort of the quality or the recent history of this Sevilla side, it's the energy and whether United can match that.
Just quickly then, before we get to our team predictions, Adam, Sevilla finished third this season ahead of Atletico Madrid, only behind Barca and Real Madrid. How much are you worried about them in this game?
They're obviously a very good side, and that it's the experience that they have in this competition which will pay. You look at the kind of players that they have: Ever Banega, Campos. I think Navas plays as a right back for them now, doesn't he? Like,
yeah, he does.
They have got a lot of players in there that will want to continue their historic run in the tournament and finishing third. I know Atletico Madrid aren't quite what they were once upon a time under Diego Simeone, but finishing third is still massive for them. And they've got Champions League football in the bag already, so that pressure's off them. So it's an interesting game. It's a difficult one, but I'm hoping against Copenhagen, it was a weird one. It stayed 0-0 for so long. We were creating chances. They were creating chances. And I think us being the favourite probably brought an edginess from us, which then makes you look a little bit tighter than you probably are. But I'm hoping we can get off to a good start. And when you're playing well, fatigue doesn't show, does it?
Yeah, I think the start's key. We've looked a bit sluggish in a few games toward the end of the season, so I think that, like I said, the first 20 minutes will be massive. I'll carry on with you then, Adam. Give me your predicted 11 for this one.
I think it's going to go David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire. I think we may see Lindelof come back in. Personally, I'd go Eric Bailly again. I don't think he's done anything wrong, but I think we may see Lindelof come back in. Williams at left back. This is a game for Nemanja Matic. I believe Fred wasn't particularly bad against Copenhagen, but I just think Matic does this role so much better. Bruno, Pogba, Marshall, Rashford, Greenwood. So
that's basically other than Luke Shaw, that team that went on that run and won all those games.
I think that's our best 11, bar Bailly.
Yeah, and maybe Shaw as well, or no?
Flip of a coin, but I'll go Brandon.
So full strength team for Adam then. What are you thinking, Jay?
I made a couple of changes from the team that Mac has got. I've gone with Romero in goal. I've gone with Williams, Bailly, Maguire. Have I missed out? I think I've missed out a right back at the team I sent you, but you know who it is. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Nemanja Matic, Paul Pogba, Bruno. And I've gone with, obviously, Martial up front, Greenwood. And I've brought James in just because I just think, I mean, this is my predicted, not what I want to see, but I was wondering whether he might want to bring Marcus on as a sub. He might just feel like, give him a little bit of a rest. He will feature. 100% it will come on at some point. But just start the game, something different, and bring Marcus on with, say, 30, 40 minutes to go and let him get at him. I think that might be in all his thinking. It's like Mark was saying, I think it is Navas in it at right back for them who, he's got experience, but he's not a spring chicken. So he might just change it up a little bit, Ollie. And that's the sort of the one change I thought that could be a surprising one. Yeah,
definitely surprising. I'm going a similar team. I'm going Romero. I think he'll keep his place as the sort of Europa League goalie. Then Wan-Bissaka. I'm going to go Lindelof and Maguire and Brandon Williams, obviously. I do agree that it'll be Matic because, again, he looked quite good, didn't he, when he came on the other day. So I think it'll be Matic, Bruno, Pogba, that sort of midfield three. Then I'm going to go Mata on the right-hand side. I thought he looked really good against Copenhagen. I know that it's a different prospect and they're a team that was sitting back and, not necessarily the same quality as Sevilla. So he'll have a bit more time on the ball to find those passes. But I thought he looked so good that if you're ever going to start him, this is the game to do it. So I'm going to go
most assists in Europa as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll go Mata, Martial, and I think it will be Rashford to start. But very similar teams. It's clear that he's going to go for a very strong team, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's a semi-final. This is your one chance of silverware. Now's not the time to be. I mean, I got it in the FA Cup semi-final, although we can argue about that, or whether we should have done it or not. But I understood that we still had to go for the league. He was trying to balance it out. And, he wanted to make sure we got that top four, which wasn't guaranteed. It went all the way to the wire. So we got that. Now it's a little bit different. He's got to go for a strong team. He has options there. Like you said, Mata would have been the most surprising decision if he made that because, both you've mentioned the four matters in the Europa and the fact he did do so well when he came on against Copenhagen. So, there's a couple of players in with a shout, but by and large, I think there's certain names that are definitely on the team sheet. We've all gone for Matic, I think, for a reason. Pogba and Bruno, no matter what, and obviously Martial up top. So, as long as those sorts of players are in, you'd fancy us with a strong shout.
Yeah, definitely. Right, before we go quickly then, Adam, what are you thinking score-wise for this one?
2-1 after extra time to Manchester United.
Nice. Look at that extra time. I hate a predicted extra time because I can't disagree with it because we've not looked like scoring.
I think it'll be an edgy
in all
game.
these
Both
games.
teams,
Yeah.
you know the cliche. They'll be feeling each other out, and what's the saying? Fingering each other up and
fingering each other
they'll
out.
be back and forth. And
Yeah.
you know,
To it and fro it.
eventually, in extra time, will come in the semi and go through.
And then Jay, what's your score prediction?
I thought he was going to say we'll come from behind then, but he didn't. He went for the other one. It was a tap in that Macca. Go on. It was an open goal. He fluffed it, mate.
Sorry.
He fluffed it. I'm the similar thing that I think it'll be a tight, edgy game. But I'm. You know what? I'll go with 1-0 and I'll go with Harry Maguire, the captain.
Oh yeah!
Come on, slabhead!
I love that.
Get a big slabhead on a header last minute. I love it.
And Jay, are there any innuendos you want to use before I give my prediction?
I'm done, man. I'm all good. I've used all mine now, man. So
Okay, good.
So we're here to talk about football.
Yeah, disgusting. I like the Maguire prediction. I'm going to go 1-0 United. I think it's going to be really cagey, like you both said, and I think it's just going to be one of them where first goal wins it. Personally, I don't think we're going to see a Barca Bayern type of game, so I'm going to go 1-0. I think it feels like Anthony Martial will get it to me, so I'm going to go 1-0 Martial with the winner. Right, that's going to be all from us today. Get your score predictions and your team predictions in the comments below as well. This is it now, semi-final. Big time, innit, lads?
Semi.
A big semi indeed. It's a bigger semi than you usually see. This one, we've seen it. We
can't get past the semi stage. Like we can't be these people that just can't get past the semi stage. We have to,
Yeah, we've got. Sometimes you got to get the semi, and then you got to push through and get even.
You got to deliver.
Got to deliver. So yeah, that's going to be all from us. Thank you very much for joining us at home. Thank you for joining me, Adam. Thank you for joining me, Jay. We'll see you in a bit.